A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels and international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer.
President Trump just posted on Truth Social that Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, has been killed during the joint U.S.-Israel attack on Iran. Khamenei was the most powerful figure in Iran, both a political and religious leader. He's been a lifelong adversary of both the U.S. and Israel, and the news of his death could have massive implications not only for Iran, but for the entire Middle East.
This is Sepah Navy, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy. From now on, all navigating through the Strait of Hormuz is forbidden. No ship in every type is not allowed to pass from the Strait of Hormuz till next notice. This is Sepah Navy, out.
New missiles, new escalation, and a direct strike on the heart of Israel. Iran has launched a heavy ballistic missile attack using its advanced Fatah system, with impacts reported in central Israel, including Tel Aviv. Here's what we know right now. On day 6 of the escalating U.S.-Israel-Iran war, Iran unleashed what it calls one of its most advanced weapons, the Fatah missile. This marks the first reported combat use of Iran's so-called hypersonic missile series, and the target, central Israel. According to Iranian sources, multiple Fatah missiles were fired as part of a new wave of retaliatory strikes. The Fatah series, first unveiled in 2023, is described by Iran as capable of extreme speeds, reportedly up to Mach 13 to 15 during its final approach. That's over 10,000 miles per hour. Iran claims the upgraded versions can maneuver mid-flight, making interception far more difficult than traditional ballistic missiles. Explosions have been reported in the Tel Aviv area. Air raid sirens sounded across central Israel as defense systems activated. While many incoming projectiles were intercepted, Some reportedly penetrated defenses, leading to impacts in urban zones. Emergency services are responding and damage assessments are ongoing. This isn't just another missile barrage. The introduction of the Fatah system signals a technological escalation. Unlike older ballistic missiles that follow predictable arcs, these newer systems are designed to maneuver at high speed during their descent, complicating interception by multi-layered defense networks. If confirmed, this represents a new phase in the conflict. The conflict has already expanded across multiple fronts in the region. Now, with advanced missiles entering the battlefield and strikes reaching deep into major population centers, the risk of broader regional spillover is increasing. Energy markets are reacting, air defenses remain on high alert, and both sides are signaling they are prepared for sustained operations. So the question now, was this a limited demonstration or the beginning of a more intense missile campaign? With new missiles unleashed and central Israel struck, this conflict has clearly entered a more dangerous stage.
And we're learning more about the top secret military operation in Iran, codenamed Epic Fury. An American submarine just sank an Iranian warship, the first time the U.S. has sunk an enemy ship using a torpedo since World War II. It's being described with two words: quiet death.
A stunning moment as a U.S. hunter-killer sub sinks an Iranian warship. A huge explosion lifts the frigate out of the water, sinking the vessel in mere minutes. Remarkably, the attack happened 2,500 miles from Iran in the Indian Ocean, just south of Sri Lanka. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth announced the sinking today.
An American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death.
It's the first time a U.S. submarine has sunk an enemy warship since the closing days of World War II.
Anywhere that there's ocean, there can be a U.S. Navy asset. And if it's a submarine, it is our ultimate stealth force. No one knows it's there until it strikes. One shot, one kill, and the ship's on the bottom.
Video just released by the Pentagon shows U.S. long-range missiles taking out Iranian military targets. U.S. TV reporters are in the line of fire.
Yeah, hey, good morning, Adriana. Those sirens you hear mean that we may have to get low pretty quick here, but I'm going to try to march on.
The war is splitting President Trump's MAGA base. Sean Hannity is squarely behind the president.
Just a historic and incredible show of superior military intelligence and might.
But Megyn Kelly is speaking out against the war.
I'm just going to be honest. Hannity is a supplicant to Donald Trump. He would never say anything other than to puff Donald Trump up.
A new CBS poll says 76% of Americans approve of the attack on Iran if it lasts only days or weeks. The president says he's delighted with the progress of the war.
Somebody said, on a scale of 10, where would you rate it? I said about a 15.
A top U.S. military official said today Iran is launching 86% fewer missiles than they were on the first day of the conflict.
U.S. nuclear forces and provide confidence in the lethality and effectiveness of the nation's nuclear deterrent. This launch, designated GT255, was scheduled years ago and is not in response to world events. It is a key component of a data-driven program that has been in place for decades, involving over 300 similar tests designed to validate the performance of the weapon system. The data collected from these routine tests is essential for ongoing and future force development. Today's test launch used a randomly selected intercontinental ballistic missile pulled from Minot Air Force Base, North Dakota. The missile was transported more than 1,300 miles and reassembled at Vandenberg Space Force Base, California. The ICBM was equipped with multiple targetable re-entry vehicles and traveled approximately 4,200 miles at a speed of more than 15,000 miles per hour to a test range near the Kwajalein Atoll in the Marshall Islands. The ICBM Test and Evaluation Program helps validate the reliability of the nuclear umbrella our allies and partners rely on, eliminating the need to obtain their own nuclear weapons to counter potential adversaries. The 56-year-old Minuteman III is based in Colorado, Montana, Nebraska, North Dakota, and Wyoming, and will be replaced by the LGM-35A Sentinel. Reporting from Vandenberg Space Force Base, I'm Senior Airman Kevin Hernandez.
In these images from Kuwait, fire and smoke seen rising in the direction of the air base which hosts U.S. forces in Kuwait. So far, Iranian retaliatory attacks on American bases have been reported in Iraq, Kuwait, Jordan, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia. Those attacked including the air base in Qatar, which is the largest U.S. base in the region, the Al Udeid air base there. The Al Dhafra air base in the UAE, the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain, the Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia, and the Erbil Air Base in Iraq. U.S. logistics base in Kuwait as well, and the Jebel Ali port in the UAE have also been hit. And a short while back, the Iranian drone attack was reported in Iraq's Erbil. Footage showing smoke rising after explosions near the airport in Erbil in Iraq's autonomous Kurdistan region. The area hosts US-led coalition troops, remember. Earlier, Iraqi forces had shot down a drone that attempted to attack a US military base near Baghdad International Airport.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God!
According to a report by US-based think tank, Iran has launched far more drones and missiles at Gulf countries than at Israel since the start of the war. Iran has reportedly launched 255 drones and missiles targeting Israel, but it has fired over 2,100 drones and missiles. That is 10 times the number of missiles and drones towards the GCC nations. Of these attacks, 1,138 were aimed at the UAE alone, suggesting that Iran's retaliatory attacks have focused heavily on US military assets in the region.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God!
Let's go straight across now to our correspondent Susan Tehrani, who's been tracking all those developments very closely for us. Susan, bring us up to speed with the latest that you're picking up from on the ground there in terms of the sentiment, in terms of the reactions that are also expected over the next few hours as we take stock of what's been happening. Of course, fast-paced developments that have been trickling in. At the same time, Trump categorically stating that there will be no deal until Iran surrenders unconditionally.
That's right, Molly. President Trump is now raising the stakes in this confrontation with Iran, saying there will be no deal with Tehran unless it agrees to what he called unconditional surrender. In that post on Truth Social, the president said that only after Iran surrenders and he said, quote, acceptable leadership emerges, the United States, along with its allies, would help rebuild the country's economy. Then he mentioned, make Iran great again, MIGA. And then this, of course, comes at a time when Iranian officials are also denying that there was any kind of outreach to the United States for negotiations, which really at this point, what we're seeing seems long gone. And about those targets that you were talking about, Iran continues to pose this challenge to the United States and Israel, notably those U.S. bases that you talked about. But it also comes at a time that last night, the Secretary of War and Admiral Cooper, commander of CENTCOM, claimed that they have full air superiority and full air control over Iranian skies. But we see that still Iran is able to launch into its neighbors, perhaps not directly on its skies, against American targets or American aircraft.
Right. Susan, as we've been piecing together the reactions coming in and with what Trump has also said at this point, of course, the stakes have been rising. But given the way these attacks have been taking place across the region, what really is the strategy looking like on part of the United States when it comes to its personnel? Of course, we've been discussing how it's been making those efforts to keep its personnel on the ground safe there.
Yeah, officials have acknowledged that some Iranian missiles and drones have reached targets. Of course, we know several U.S. service members have been killed and equipment has been damaged. The Pentagon says defending against drone wave perhaps has been the most challenging. In a briefing with lawmakers, defense officials admitted that intercepting large number of Iranian drones is challenging. And again, some attacks may get through. Now, this all comes as Admiral Cooper again last night said that Iran's drone attacks have decreased by over 80%, but we still see that these attacks are possible.
All right, we're leaving it there for the moment, Susan. Thanks very much for those updates for now. Of course, coming back to you as and when the developments continue to trickle in at this point.
Well, the conflict in Iran is intensifying, with the Pentagon saying it's preparing to increase operations. It comes amid word that the U.S. believes Russia is providing Iran intelligence. ABC's Christiane Cordero has the latest from Washington.
As strikes intensify across the Middle East, U.S. intelligence believes Russia is helping Iran by providing the locations of American troops, aircraft, and ships in the region, according to two people familiar with the intelligence. The Washington Post was first to report Russia's alleged involvement. The White House today did not deny the report. Russia has not addressed the allegations, but Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov has said previously that Iran hasn't asked for help. And today, the White House was also pressed on President Trump's latest social media post demanding unconditional surrender from Iran.
What the president means is that when he, as commander-in-chief of the U.S. Armed Forces, determines that Iran no longer poses a threat to the United States of America and the goals of Operation Epic Fury has been fully realized, then Iran will essentially be in a place of unconditional surrender.
Trump is also demanding he be part of choosing Iran's next supreme leader. Today, thousands gathered in Tehran to mourn the supreme leader killed by U.S.-Israeli strikes last week. The relentless strikes and counterstrikes are taking a toll on civilians across the region as stranded tourists scramble to get out. The State Department says more than 24,000 Americans have safely left the Middle East, most on commercial flights navigating around closed airspace.
But there's no help. So you're on your own to get your own travel plans. And that was the most stressful thing.
The State Department says it's working on increasing the number of charter flights available, coordinating with commercial and regional partners like the company that operates the New England Patriots team plane. Officials shared this photo of Americans boarding the flight, adding it was fully funded by the government and the team was not involved. President Trump plans to attend the dignified transfer of the 6 American service members killed so far. They're expected to arrive tomorrow at Dover Air Force Base. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
And crude oil prices have jumped above $90 a barrel for the first time in more than 2 years. The national average for a gallon of regular gas is now $3.32. That's up 7 cents from yesterday and 34 cents from a week ago. The U.S. Treasury has unveiled a plan to bring prices back down, including a temporary 30-day waiver that will allow officials in India to buy Russian oil.
This is a very brief change in policy just to keep oil prices down a little bit better than we could otherwise.
Now, analysts predict gas prices could rise to an average of $3.50 within 2 weeks.
The Iranian foreign minister telling American reporters that the regime is ready for a possible U.S. ground invasion.
Are you afraid of a U.S. invasion in your country?
No, we are waiting for them.
You are waiting for the U.S. military to invade the ground troops?
Yes, because we are confident that we can confront them, and that would be a big disaster for them.
And if you had any doubt that Iran was in a rational state, you just confirmed that.